I wanted to
Now
meet.
getting his pants off from what I hear.
Uh, but who I became really good friends with, who I'm still friends with, is George Lopez. He was the go-to comic. Was not famous at the time, but he became famous during that 5.5 years. And he and I were good friends, and his wife and my wife, and he had a daughter and my kids. We became family friends, and we're still family friends. And there was a lot of guys, Emo Phillips, so many comics, man. I can't even remember them all, but almost a couple a week, So that was a great experience. And I loved all the actors, and I loved the actresses, and I got to meet all these great actresses. And when I told you I was at the Improv. Well, when I performed at the Improv in the 80s, I always performed on Tuesday nights, 9:15 to 9:30. So I go to the bar, and because we weren't paid anything, we were allowed to get free beers, free drinks, So I wasn't a big drinker, but I'll tell them, have a beer. And I'd sit at the bar, and they had a TV, and they always turned it to ABC, and it was moonlighting till 10. And then at 10:30 something came on. And I always watched it there, and I thought, I really like this long-legged brunette with a hoarse voice, And I thought, oh, Polly Draper, that's her name. One day I'll meet her. So one day I'm on the show, a couple years in, and I see they have a board in the producers where they're booking everything. And they have these note cards with every name, the name of all the guests. It's like a puzzle, Chinese puzzle. Monday, okay, this guest, music guest, blah, blah, blah. Tuesday. And sometimes they go, oh, this person canceled. We have to do that,
Like so in a restaurant.
Yeah. So I see one day Polly Draper's coming. I go, oh, man, I hope I can meet Polly Draper. But, sometimes I can't meet them. There's somebody I really want to meet. If I can, I'll just go into their dressing room. I was, a musical director. I could talk to anybody. I got to meet Robin Williams again that way. And James Garner, I was a huge fan of his. I knocked on doors, Sammy Davis, all these people, Milton, Jerry Lewis. But with her, she wasn't there early. I think she was working, so she came late, just in time for hair and makeup. But I happened to be in the hair and makeup thing, and she sat right next to me. So we really hit it off, and I was cracking her up, and I thought, this is my shot. But I didn't ask her out or anything. So I was too shy. I don't know. I just didn't feel it, So she was really great on the show. She left. And a week or so after, I thought, I gotta get a hold of her. So I asked the producer, how can I get a hold of her? So why don't you call up? I don't know if there was email then. I don't know. Maybe there was email, but why don't you, contact her agent? So I call the agent. I leave a message. I don't hear anything. And I just, after a week or two, I go, forget it, man. So I look at the sheet that booked her, and I see her address where the limo picked her up. And it was 6 blocks from my address. So I went to this store called Arturo's Flowers, and I got 101 roses for $19.99. And I got a card, and I said, I'm Michael Wolff, blah, blah, blah. Here's my phone number. And I put it on her doorstep, and I left. And I didn't hear from her for like 3 or 4 days. I go, what? So I go after with work, because, the show would end. It was, kind of fall. So it was still light, at 7 o'clock. And I drive by, and I see my flowers wilted with the card. So you know what? I went and got another 101 roses, $19.99. I got rid of those. I put them down. I didn't hear a word. So then I waited a week. Same thing happened. So the third time I leave them, and I get a call, and it's Polly Draper. And she goes, hey, I'm calling to thank you for the flowers. I got a message you would call from my agent, but I thought you were the guy I'd met at the dog park. I didn't know you were Michael Wolff from the show, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. I was trying to get a hold of you. And so I said, I got a gig. Would you like to come? I'm going to be playing it for a party for PETA in a private thing. It was great. It was with my band from the show.
PETA is the Save the Whales.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not Save the Whales, but it was so you don't have fur coats, stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
So she came to that. It was cool. She was so famous then, and I was really great. I got Polly Draper coming with me. And then I asked her out on a real date. So that was maybe, that was during the week. And then I think the next weekend, we had a real date. So I go to pick her up at her house. anyway, it was fantastic. We go out to date. We went, what did we do? We went out to dinner. We went to a jazz club. We went late night to Cantor's Deli, and then I just took her home and I just thought, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a good relationship. In the meantime, she was separated from her husband, living with another dude. But that dude went away. I just kept after her, man. I just kept after her. I'd go and wait in her yard. She had a little swing. I'd wait in the swing, I stalked her basically,
That's what they would call it now.
Now I called it ardent pursuit. Now it would be called stalking for sure.
You didn't
But
want to be the one
anyway,
to say that.
be careful what you wish for. Now we've been married 31 years. We've been together 35 years, got 2 grown kids, But yeah, I was lucky.
Well, you were. I think she's, it's wonderful. And in fact that, especially in art or entertainment, to have a marriage that endures like that is it's a rare thing anywhere in the world, but it's, especially in our profession.
Oh yeah, and we both traveled a lot for work, and we made an agreement at the very beginning of our relationship, even before we got married, that we would never ask the other person not to go do something. Like, if I'm going to Japan, I'm touring, and she's going to do a movie in, Canada or whatever, or wherever, we'd say we're not going to do. We're just going to. Oh, you got to go work 6 months and, off and on, stay in Canada. Go do it. I tell her, go do it. Great,
Well, this inadvertently sort of led you to come back to New York, didn't it, in a way?
Definitely, in a way. We stayed in LA we got married, and then Arsenio ended, 30-something ended. We had our first child. We bought a house together and got married, and so
It was in California.
Yeah, in LA. It's perfect timing, really.
1988, 89, something like.
Well, no, this was in the 90s, because my show ended in May of 90.
Well, that's right. He started in
94.
Right, 94 he ended.
Her show had ended a few years before. So we had made enough money that we're okay. I mean, we were still working. I was actually concentrating on writing film scores. So I was doing more TV and film at that point. And she was just a busy actress. She was doing she wanted to do film. So that's mostly what she did. And then that's when she was writing, So I was really, I'd done the Sundance Composers Workshop, where you go up to Sundance in Park City, and 3 or 4 times. That was great. I got to meet Robert Redford and Thomas Newman, and they have all these filmmakers up there. So one of the filmmakers was assigned to me, and I wrote the music for that film. It wasn't that good, but I was learning, and I was getting some gigs. I wrote TV films and did a hip hop movie called Who's the Man? It's actually a really good movie. So that was going kind of well. And I had a partner I wrote with, my friend Nick Tenbrook, that I'd gone to high school with, which was great. So, I was having a lot of fun. And I did the score to the Tick Code. And I was good. I was working really hard at that and really getting better. I had a studio and I'm figuring out all the technical stuff. And, things were changing right then, where it got really all about the computer and samples and stuff, and I would do that along with piano and hire real instruments if I needed. I had never gotten a big orchestra date or anything. I had learned to do orchestra with Nancy Wilson and conducted a lot of orchestras, but for the movie thing, my budgets were never that much. So then, this was in the 90s, I decided, well, if I'm going to be known as a jazz artist again, I know from playing on TV, everybody's going to put me down. Like I used to go, oh, those guys that play TV, they can't really play. That joke about the trumpet player that comes back to New York, and he's been playing TV for years, and he runs into a friend. He goes, "Hey, what have you been doing?" He says, "Oh, I've been writing movie scores. Did you see that movie? That I just wrote, that Scorsese movie?" Goes, "No, I didn't hear about that." And he runs into another friend. The guy says, "What have you been doing?" He goes, "Oh, I wrote this Porsche commercial. It went really, really great. Did you hear about it?" The guy says, "I haven't heard about it." And then he runs into another friend and says, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I sat in at the Vanguard band. I hadn't been playing trumpet that much. It didn't go that well." The guy goes, "Yeah, I heard about that."
I heard about that. Yeah, I got lost. Right on the form. Yeah, I heard about that.
So what I did was
Bruce line. A guy orders a $200 prostitute, and the guy with the trumpet shows up in his door. But
well, so what happened was, during this time, though, I thought, I'm a jazz piano player, composer. That's what I got to do. So I decided, well, I kind of have anybody at my fingertips at this point. Ron Carter and Lenny White had played for the Tick Code score. I'd done all this stuff. So I just decided, I'm going to get a guy that's older than me and a guy that's younger than me. I'm going to get my favorite drummer, Tony Williams, and I'm going to get Christian McBride, my new favorite bass player, and make a trio album. So I had a manager at the time, and he got me a really good deal with a Japanese company that would put it in the United States. We went to Fantasy Records and we recorded. And I was really nervous about it. Recorded over 2 or 3 days. And it was great. It turned out great. I was a Bosendorfer artist. They gave me a great 9-foot Bosendorfer. And we made a record called Jumpstart. And it was, came out super successful. And I had a really good press agent who said, well, since people you think are going to put you down, let's put it out as just a white album. We're not going to put any to the press. Nobody's going to know who it is. Just say, listen to it. And they all were like, who is this guy? It's amazing. He wouldn't have said it if they knew it was me, the talk show guy. So anyway, that went great. I started touring, not with those guys, but, with a trio, actually with John B. Williams or Roy McCurdy. And then made another album. And then right about that time, Holly got a gig to do a movie in New York. So she said, well, at that point we had both of our sons. They were 3 years old, and Nat was 3 and Alex was 9 months. She said, let's go back to New York while I do this movie. And it was the summertime. I go, that sounds great. Let's go. Well, I didn't have any projects. So Polly, I had an apartment she had kept here. And we squeezed in. It was hard, we're 3 of us, 4 of us, 2 kids and 2 of us. So, but anyway, so she was working in the day and I take care of the kids, and she'd come home at night and I'd go out and hang, and I started seeing all my old friends, going to Bradley's, going to all the clubs. And I just started meeting everybody again and sitting in the Zinc Bar and playing. And, I'm going, man, this is happening. This is where I belong, blah, 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 blah. So September comes along. She's still working. So we put Nat into a preschool here in New York called Beginnings on 16th Street. And he really likes the school. And we really like the school. We don't have to drive anybody anywhere. We don't have a car in New York. So we just decided to stay, and we kept staying and staying and staying. And I decided, well, look, New York's about jazz, but I'm just going to do jazz, So that really thing, I just kind of go along with how it's going along, So I was really happy that happened. We still have a place in LA and we're back and forth, but I'm mostly in New York.
Yeah, that's I think that you said, you put it very well in the book too, that just realizing that, you're never going to have this in LA. There's great musicians there and this and that, but the camaraderie between, the musicians and that kind of thing, just, like the contrast. I heard a comedian one time say the difference between New York and LA was that in New York, somebody walks up to you and says, have a nice day. They want you to have a nice day. They hope you do. Also in New York, if somebody walks up to you and says, I'm going to kill you, they're going to kill you right then and there. In LA, people walk up and smile and say, have a nice day, and then they kill you.
Well, that's what people would say when you have meetings in LA and it gets all intimate. They show you pictures of their kids and then you never hear from them, Yeah. But, I happen to love LA. When you go out there from New York, you get a lot of props. And what that happened, with Polly, because she was a New York theater actress before she did 30-something. And, she'd done a few movies, but she's done 100 plays in New York. And so she got a lot of respect. And even my sons, who are actors and musicians, they started in New York. So when they go out to LA, it's just, but I love LA. I do love LA. And I play, with great people out there, and Erskine's out there, lots of guys. Yeah. Joe Barbara, I played with him. There's great musicians and great young musicians, and so Mentzer's out there, man. And I love that guy. So there's enough guys out there to play with, but it's like the scene is small,
Right, and
of course the scene's getting small everywhere, but it's definitely better in New York. But
it's still small.
You know how it is. The scene is small now.
Yeah, it's a friend of mine that described New York, though that's rather depressing. Oh. Said it's like seeing your first love turn into a crack whore. I said, isn't that a little harsh? He said, not really. But anyway, that was.
What he said is I'm being a little harsh towards the crack whore.
Harsh towards the crack horse. That's right. Don't insult crack horse like that.
Uh,
Um,
uh,
so now your
yeah.
children. Let's talk a little bit about that. You have these very gifted children who are no longer children, of course, but when they were children,
Well,
they
they're
would.
still my children, but yeah, they're not children.
Right. Well, that's how I
Uh,
feel with my children too. They'll always be my children.
yeah, I'll
It,
have Nat. Nat is my oldest son. He's going to be 29, and Alex is my other son. He's going to be 26. Alex Wolff, Nat Wolff, and they started on a show that Polly created called the Naked Brothers Band, which is on Nickelodeon, and it was a huge hit. And we started out as a little family film we did because Nat had wanted to be an actor, and it was I played the father on the show. I did the underscore, but it was all based on Nat and then Alex's songs. Nat was a great songwriter from the age of 6. And at 8 years old, he wrote a song that was in the top 200 of Billboard, the youngest songwriter ever. Just super talented guys, you know.
that Rosalinda, that song.
Yeah, yeah. No, the one that was, it was Crazy Car was the one that was a big hit. But Rosalinda, yeah. That was a great one, beautiful one. He wrote so many pretty, you know, he's like 29 now. He's written probably 200 songs. And Alex, too. Alex has become a great songwriter. So their band is Nat and Amberson, Nat and Alex Wolff. They just put out a new album called Table for Two. It's fantastic. And because of their movie careers, they got so busy, they haven't really been able to do much with that in terms of touring. But they're playing at the Troubadour, I think, November 19th.
So they're both actors, and they're both as well. Both of them are acting. They both continued acting.
They're doing amazing. They're both doing amazing. Yeah, they're acting. And it's just been this last year. I had his own TV show on Amazon with Christoph Waltz called The Consultant. Fantastic. He's great in it. He's done a million.
In the West Coast, basically, or are they both in?
What?
Are they both more West Coast or East Coast? Are they?
Both. They're both. Nat, before the last thing Nat did before the strike was he did a play in New York. It was Chekhov play, and it was The Seagull. Unbelievable. He was unbelievable.
Igor and all that, yeah.
Right, he was the young guy. And, you know, they're the hardest working guys I know. Alex just got back from Argentina where he did a movie that was, the SAG allowed him to go do it because it was a foreign movie. But he's been working 11 months straight. He did the prequel to A Quiet Place in London. Then he spent 5 months in Europe doing playing Leonard Cohen in a miniseries. And then he just did
Really?
started in this other movie. So and Nat's getting ready to do a movie where he's playing Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul and Mary. You know, they're just super busy.
Oh, that's great.
And they're both writing. Alex has got one movie that he wrote, directed, and starred in called The Cat in the Moon. It's still on Amazon. And he has a new movie that he's trying to get made. He's going to get made. He's talking with different actors. And Nat just wrote a script that he's going to get made, that he's going to direct. They're just in it, man. They're the hardest working people I know, for real, you know.
Well, to go back to the parents, let's one at a time. What has Polly been doing? Is she been?
Oh, Polly's super busy. Yeah, she was on an ABC show this last year called The Company You Keep with this guy, Milo Ventimiglia, playing her son. And it was about a family of con artists. It was cool. I mean, after that writer's strike, it got canceled. Nacho got canceled. You know, the writer's strike just messed everything up. But she's doing that. And she's writing and directing a lot. She wrote a film over COVID. She was super busy. She directed a movie. She wrote a script for a big studio. She did a really great guest star recently on this really funny show on HBO called Hacks with Gene Smart. And
that was great. What did she do on Hacks? I saw.
Yeah, she played the fortune teller.
Okay, I have to go back and investigate. I saw part of the first season.
So hopefully they're going to write her in for the next season to do a little more. And she had a blast. She loves those women. It was really great. And she's doing that. And then she's getting ready to direct a thriller as soon as the SAG strike is over. A really nice script that she didn't write, but she'll direct it. So, well, you know, everybody's busy. I'm the weak link, as my friend Dave Schroeder, who runs a jazz program where I teach at NYU, goes, "You're the weak link, man." I go, "I know it. I dig it, man."
Well, one of the things that you did at being the weak link was in the kids' TV show, which we've watched a few episodes of with my young young daughters. I've got my 16-year-old, my 9-year-old, Anya and Simona, and they love your kids. And one of the things we notice, your character in there is a funny character. I mean, to sum the show up in a way, it's kind of the idea that these young kids have a band that exceeds even the Beatles in popularity.
Oh, that's what it is. It's a mock documentary. When we did the movie, how a kid's band as popular as the Beatles. And then when kids saw the movie and Nickelodeon bought it, they took it a little more realistically. So we did a little more like what was happening, but it was always a mockumentary.
But like the idea of Cindy Blackman, taking a drum lesson from your son Alex, just
exactly. Or Cyndi Lauper, and that was in the movie. But yeah,
that kind of thing. Now your character is almost like Lucy, and I Love Lucy, that she wants Ricky to put her in the act, and you play this accordion playing, lederhosen wearing.
I know my wife wanted to humiliate me the most she could, and she did.
She managed to do that. Yeah, but you are very funny in it, and I think that's that's.
Oh, it's fun for me. I always wanted to do something like that. I'd studied acting. I'd done one movie, but playing a keyboard player, but called Magic Sticks. It was actually a German movie, but it was in English. And then so to getting to do this, because Polly was the showrunner, creator, writer, director, our kids were the stars. So I was really helping produce it. And I had a really great music assistant, this guy, Michael Berry, who's gone on to huge fortune creating samples for, composers. But yeah, so we had a studio in my apartment, and we had a same studio set up on the set, so we could write the underscore. We'd be shooting one episode, but we had 3 episodes we had to score. So I would am I seeing over? Great. I'd run up. Oh, I got 2 hours. I'd go up and write music. Then I'd come back. I'd do it with my, costume on and all that. So yeah, it was the most fun. We got up every morning. I'd work out in the morning, about 6 in the morning on the elliptical and do all this stuff. And then we'd all get in the van. They'd say, Teamster would come and pick us up, our whole family, and then a couple of people that lived around here, a couple of the other actors. And we go in about 7 to the set. And we all go to makeup if we were working or whatever. And the whole day was amazing. We had music teachers because they had to learn to sync to the songs that Nat and Alex had done. They had other kids. And so it was a real factory, and it was super fun. It was super fun to get to be with your kids. And we didn't want our kids to be not like real kids. So we wanted them to go to real school. So we basically shot in the summer in Brooklyn. It would go a little late, maybe till like October or something, or end of.
They didn't just have tutors; they actually went to school.
Oh, well, they would have tutors during the shooting. Then they went to professional children's school,
right?
Which was a great school. It wasn't an art school, but it was for kids that did that. So they would set up that they could leave if they'd go off and do a movie or something. But yeah, so they could have a regular life,
So I want to get to the, sort of the final. Not the final phase, but the phase that kind of to set it up. I would say that you're living this really lovely, charmed life with your kids and with family, and you're like what the Brazilians would call you're living a life with a bunda. What is it? Virado para a lua, which means your asshole is pointing toward the moon. I don't know why they use that imagery.
Okay.
The light is shining on you. You're having a wonderful life, basically.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing happens that could possibly.
Well, what happened was I just noticed I had some lymph nodes in my groin swollen up on both sides. And I wasn't feeling bad, I was feeling okay. I went to my regular doctor, and he checked me out. And he goes, "Well, you're so healthy, man. I think nothing's bad in your blood work or anything. I think you're cool, And just keep an eye on it." But it didn't go away. It got a little worse. But this guy, I don't go to that doctor anymore. So about 3 or 4 months later, I go, "What are we going to do, Matt?" He says, "Well, I'll send you to an oncologist." So I go to that oncologist. He checks me out. And he goes, "I don't think it's anything, but I'm going to need you to go get a PET scan." So I come back and he goes, "Okay, you got lymphoma. well, we don't know what kind of lymphoma it is, so you got to go get a biopsy. I'm going to do this. What is it? Some kind of test in your back and put a big needle and they pull out this stuff, Anyway, turned out to be diagnosed as follicular non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4. That means it's everywhere. But the cell was not considered a bad cell. So with this kind of cancer, they say, well, this isn't a curable cancer, but it is a treatable cancer. So we'll be able to treat it. We'll treat you now. It'll go away, and it might go away for 5 to 10 years. And when it comes back, we'll treat you again. Oh, they had it kind of figured out. So they said, but we don't start treatment until you're sick. You're not sick now. Well, why would we treat it? Statistically, it doesn't really pay to do it. So, just live your life. And if you start feeling sick, we'll do the treatments, So
what year is this, Mike?
Oh, don't ask. I don't even know. It's about 10 years ago. I would say I should really know these years, 2013 or 14, something like that, right?
Oh, it's like somebody told me when we were young, when I was about 15, he said, he was an older guy, a bass player, Russell Savakis. He said, you see, you're still thinking in years, day to day, month to month. At my age, he was 50 something, you think in decades.
There you go. Yeah, I was thinking in sections, A section, B section. So anyway, so I was feeling good. And for about 9 months, I really kind of put it out of my mind, to be honest. My son Alex was doing a really cool movie called Coming Through the Rye. He was a star out of it, and it's about a kid, and he was young. Maybe he was 17, so he still needed to have an adult on the set with him. That was the law, the Screen Actors Guild rule.
Right.
And he was shooting in a tiny little town in Virginia. He was a star, and he was with Chris Cooper, played J.D. Salinger. So he plays a kid who's in school, and he wants to go do make a play of a Salinger book, Catcher in the Rye, all this stuff. Anyway, it's a great movie. So my wife and I traded off. He was out. They put him up at some farm, so they rented a car for us. It was kind of fun, but you still have to get up at 6 in the morning and the haze and drive him there and just sit there all day on the set at the monitor or doing something else. You have to be a stage parent, which we'd always had the other stage parents when we were doing our show, but I had to, or she had to be the stage parent. So we were there sometimes together, but mostly separate because we both had stuff to do in New York. And you could basically take the train there. It's south of DC.
Right.
But starting to feel kind of bad, I thought, well, maybe I'm just getting a cold or something. I started sweating at night and having fevers, and I just spaced on having this cancer, man. So I go to their local doctor, and he checks me out. He goes, I think you got, because I was having pain in my left groin, I think you have diverticulitis. So he gives me all this medicine for that. And after a week, I'm getting worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. And finally, he sends me to the hospital, and they do a scan, and they go, man, you have cancer, right? I go, yeah. I said, well, it's all over, So I called my wife, said, you got to come down. I got to go up to New York. But I'm getting in more and more pain. Anyway, she came, I took the train up to New York. Doctor gave me a bunch of Percocet, and he decided to start treating me with chemo, and he did. And it seemed to work right away. The lymph nodes went away. I wasn't in pain anymore. So he treated me off and on for 9 months, but I was going steadily downhill, man. I could not get well, even though it looked like I was getting better. So I ended up being in bed for about 8 or 9 months. I could not get out of bed. I mean, just to go to the doctor, in the bathroom. That was awful. And I was up all night, couldn't sleep every hour, sweating every hour, taking my t-shirt off. It was lonely as fuck. And in the middle of the night, you're sweating and everybody's asleep. I don't want to wake anybody. And then the day I was just living on Percocet, man, to try to get through the day. It was a nightmare. I wouldn't wish it on Trump. That's how bad I felt.
That's how bad.
So finally, she said, you got to, I was going to just a really good gynecologist, a really good oncologist. So anyway, I finally went up to Memorial Sloan Kettering. It's hard to get in there, but I got in there through a friend. And that lymphoma guy goes, wow, he was kind of looking at him. I charting hell. Well, it looks like you're charting. It looks like you're well. Why are you acting like this? I don't get it. All right, well, it wasn't that nice. He goes, I'm going to do another biopsy. I'm not going to just treat you. He was an old bird, so he does another biopsy. He says, all right, we'll call you when it's ready. So he calls us. We go back for the next appointment, maybe a week or two. And I'm fading, man. I'm crying. I'm so sick, and he puts us in a little room and he pushes the Kleenex towards us. He says, well, I have to tell you, you have a disease I've never seen. I think I was about 70. It's called histiocytic sarcoma. It's a rare cancer. I've never seen it. I don't know much about it. I'm going to get you to the rare cancer guy right away, because he knew how sick I was, So he gets me to the rare cancer guy. He goes, yeah. So Polly and I go home after that first thing, and we look at it. She goes, well, don't look it up, because when you look it up, it's only 300 people that had it, and it was 6 months survival rate.
Whoa.
From diagnosis. So in the meantime, I'd been in bed. I was so sick, I couldn't get out of bed, and I just tried to watch TV. I couldn't stay awake. In the meantime, Nat, during that time, starred in his first movie called Paper Towns. And he was traveling all over the world promoting it by this guy, John Green, and Carla Delevingne was his love interest. It was really but he was in Brazil. Anyway, so I'm there, with that cancer doctor, the specialist, right, Dr. Gounder. And I say, well, look, Polly and I have been doing a little reading, and we know I'm going to go somewhere where somebody's really dealt with this. It's such a rare disease. You got to tell me, who's seen the most of these? He goes, I have. I go, well, how many cases have you had? He said, in your career? He said, 10. And I didn't ask him what happened. I'm sure they all died, but I didn't ask him. So we leave, and I said, am I going to survive? And he said, well, I'll fight with you. So we go home, and I said, that was not encouraging, man, from that guy.
Not at all.
I'll fight with you. So in the meantime, when I went there the first time, they said, we're doing a kind of a trial where we take everybody's blood and we do a genomic blood test to see what mutations they have in their blood and their DNA. Would you be willing to do it? I go, sure. And then they test you for everything, AIDS and hepatitis and everything, So they take this blood, but in those days, it took 6 weeks. I think it's much quicker now. So I'm waiting, and the doctor, Dr. Gounder, said, whoa. We go back the next week. I said, well, we're going to wait for that test. He goes, we can't wait. I'm going to give you this, what he called kind of punchy chemo. It's stronger than anything you had. I go, okay. So I go do that, and I go home. And the next day, I think it's the next day or a day after, my wife gets me, I'm on the floor, and she thinks I've overdosed on Percocet because I'm babbling to her. So she calls, says, I'm going to call 911. And I said, don't call 911. I don't know if I said it, but trying to say it. So I'm picked up. 911 guys come, the paramedics, and they put me on this stretcher, and they roll me down. We go to the elevator, and we're going out. And I just look up these lights, and I don't know where I am, because it turns out we got new lights in our lobby, which I didn't know. And I said, well, where am I? She goes, you're in our lobby. And then the next thing I know, I went out, and I woke up the next morning, and I'm in the ICU, and I've, got stuff, and I'm hooked up everywhere. And, I look around, and I see dead people in their things. I see, people got stuff all into their, it's awful, man. It's because it's a clear thing, So I'm in there, and Polly, my wife, comes in and says, you're in the ICU. Okay, and they brought you in last night, and they worked on you all night. And, that's it. So a doctor comes in. I guess they thought I was passed out. So they said to her, do you have a DNR? And she goes, what's that? And I go, resuscitate me. It was do not resuscitate. I go, resuscitate me. Fuck that. I'm not ready to go, man.
You popped up out of the coma. So.
Yeah. I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, well, I think Nat's going to, Nat was in Brazil. Well, Nat's going to fly back to see you. I was so out of it, man. I was on Dilaudid, a real stronger than morphine and all that, and morphine, whatever. And they didn't know what to do with me, man. So an infectious disease doctor comes in and he goes, your white blood cells are supposed to be what, 8,000? Yours are 40. I go, shit, what are we going to do? There's nothing we can do. Your body just has to do it on its own. I go, okay, thanks. So that guy leaves. And my original oncologist sits down next to me and he goes, uh, I just want to let you know that sometimes people in your condition don't make it. Hope your kids will get here fast. But, I was so out of it, man. It didn't upset me. I went, okay, whatever, man. I was out.
I've kind of been there because of my, I'm not quite there, but I was kind of close to that, so I can empathize with what you're saying. I want to read one little passage from your book.
Yeah, please.
Describe what it was like to live with you, like during this period, which I find it very, well, apropos to the situation. It says, my illness took a big toll on my family. I couldn't be a good husband and father. Hell, I wasn't even a good adult. I was in so much need. I could only take. Much of the time, I was in a deep depression and otherworldly mental state and didn't register a lot of what was going on around me. How could I, when we had to use all of my concentration to remember which pills to take, to drink enough liquids, how much insulin to shoot into my stomach, and so on. On the inside, I was eternally grateful for the care and love I was receiving from everyone, but I couldn't return any of it. I wasn't ready to die, but my existence was a fucking nightmare. I was drugged, sick, lonely, and basically killing whatever time I had left on the planet. While I had never been the most easygoing guy and had often let my temper get the better of me, this was another level of awfulness, and my response to it was another level of bad behavior. It wasn't something I had any control over, and my family and friends were endlessly understanding of that, but it took a toll on all of us. So just to give an idea of, what you were going through internally at that time, I hope you don't mind me reading that passage, but
that's the truth,
I thought you put it, very well.
I had to lay it out, man,
Well, yeah, so now you're on, and soon there actually is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a moving train.
It's not what?
And it's not a moving train.
No, I was lucky. My wife would keep. Well, first of all, I had to be in the hospital for 3 weeks. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I ended up getting a blood clot in my groin. I was really in bad shape. I wouldn't eat. And my wife, one doctor came in. He was because I had been taking so much steroids, I developed diabetes. So then I had to shoot myself with the fucking insulin before every meal, and adding insult to injury, and I had to figure it out.
Adding insulin to injury.
So you got to test yourself, then you figure what you're going to eat. So you just kind of guess. I didn't kill myself with it, so I'm lucky, however I did it. So anyway, I was there for 3 weeks, man, and this doctor comes in and he goes, the hematologist goes, well, what do you eat? I go, well, I've been a vegetarian for 25 years. He goes, so he looks at my chart, he goes, eat meat. Okay. So my wife's there and I didn't want to eat anything. So she would order lamb chops and hold it over my mouth like I was a bird, maybe I just eat a little. I mean, I would not, it was, I can barely remember it. But I started getting better, and
do you eat meat now?
I mean, if my wife cooks some meat, I will have a bite, or maybe a small lamb chop. I'm not really a meat eater, but I'll eat it a little bit. But I don't think I need it now, like I did. But I'll have a bite. I mean, I was religiously a vegetarian. I'm not that way now, but I want my heart to be good. And my dad died of a heart attack young, so I try to be cool, But it was those 3 weeks were really rough in the hospital, and that was before they had. That was when the guy and Sloan Kettering was talking with my wife, going, "I'm stumped. As this blood test is coming in, I'm not seeing any mutation that causes cancer. I really don't know what to do." And I talked to him on the phone, the ICU. I said, "Man, don't ever give me that shit again." He goes, "Don't worry, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you any more chemo. Don't worry about it." sorry, Mr. Wolff. And call me every week. And, he felt bad about it, or was worried or whatever. So, but I think he knew I was on the way out. He thought I had a few months, when I saw him. Now he tells me you had 3 months. So anyway, so there was the African-American orderly, and they wanted me to sit up at one point. I said, fuck that, I'm not sitting up. So he would come in, say, come on. I said, I'm too tired. He goes, okay, I'll be back in an hour. You rest up. And he would make me sit up. He pulled me up. And then he said, okay, grab my arms. We're going to sit up. Okay, that's really good. Now here's what we're going to do. You're going to stand up and you're going to walk to that chair. And I did it. And Polly's going, yeah. And I just think, this is what's getting applause in my life, that I fucking walked from the bed to the chair. It was depressing, and I was really depressed. And my sister, who was a social worker from Berkeley, came to hang, and she and Polly had a chat, and they both came in and said, you think you need to take an antidepressant, man? All right. Oh, I don't care. So the psychiatrist gave me like Celexa, 40 milligrams. Oh, I can't remember what it. Yeah, Celexa. It was cool, and I think it helped. It took about a month, but so it was a nightmare, man. So I did slow. There was some people there. There was a woman, like an angel, this black woman that worked at night, and she, I'd have to. Anyway, it's really awful. But she would take care of me, and she'd give me baths in the bed, and then I slowly started walking, and then I get to where I could go out of the room, and then I could walk around once, and so I got to the place where they could take me home, and yeah, I'm just telling you all the humiliating things. But they hired this. My wife hired this ambulette, which is kind of an ambulance, but was an emergency, because I didn't think I could step up into a cab. Yeah, I was so weak. And they kind of help you.
I'm still a little like that.
Huh?
Never recovered walking fully.
Yeah.
I have to walk a bit. I can make it from the house from my chair to the bathroom and around the house. I have to walk in the hall while pushing a walker, and that kind of thing. So I know kind of that feeling of helplessness.
Oh, yeah. So our friend, we have this really lovely friend named Amy Ryan, who's an actress. You'd recognize her. She's great. And she just happened to come visit me that day. She and Polly had done a play, and we become friends. And that was the day I was leaving. So she helped me pack up, and I was so embarrassed, like Amy Ryan, who I really love, and, pretty actress. And
There is something.
Anyway, so we went home, and, but then I'm at home and nothing's happening. And then I go one day to the doctor. He goes, give me a high five. Give me a high five. We go, what? He goes, I think I found the mutation that gave you the cancer. And I think I found a medicine that may do it. What was it? Well, you got a MEK mutation, MEK. And there's this little pill called Mechanist that's used for people with metastasized melanoma. I go, okay, I'll try it. But he says it's going to be hard for you to get because of insurance, and it's not for your cancer. So says usually if it's Sloan Kettering, they can usually get it, but it took about a month, man. A long time to get that medicine. In the meantime, my wife's going to like this guy who does natural stuff. So some lady's coming over 3 times a week and giving me IV of vitamin C. Taking, natural stuff didn't do anything for me, but you do what you can do. Finally, this medicine comes. The medicine comes. It's such a little pill. It looks like a sugar pill. I think there's no fucking way, after all I've been through and all the chemo and all of this and that, this is going to have any effect on me. But I'm going to take it. What do I got to lose?
Sure.
So I take it one day. I take it the second day. And all of a sudden, all of my symptoms disappear. I had a symptom where every day I'd get these rigors and shake for about 45 minutes. You can't control yourself from you get a super high fever, it's super cold. And I would, sweat all night. 2 days of taking this baby 2 milligram pill, and it all went away. So I tell the doctor that. He goes, oh my God, high five, we got to do it the next week. Let's do another PET scan, see where you're at. We go in, he goes, you're not going to believe this, 80% reduction of all your tumors in 1 week or 10 days.
Wow, miracle.
This is it. He says, so I said, well, what's the research on this? He goes, you're the research. There's no
Right.
research.
You're the research, right?
So then over the next couple of years, he's researching me, because he doesn't want me to get resistance. So we take that 2 milligram thing for a month or so. Then he goes, okay, I'm going to change this up now. I want you to double it. And I want you to double it for a week and then go back to the 2. And then, all right, after that, let's triple it. But then I would get side effects, not bad, but, rashes. And, I got really sensitive to this. I got skin cancer or stuff like that. So then he'd stop it sometimes for 3 weeks. Let's stop it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, let's take a break. He just tried all kind of shit. Finally, after 2 years, I'd had many PET scans, 1 a month. He says, I haven't seen cancer in 2 years from you, or a year or whatever. I said, well, how will I know if I'm cured? He goes, it's up to you. You'd have to stop the medicine. That's the only way we could know. But it's up to you and your wife. I said, I'm not asking my wife. I'm stopping it right now.
Really?
He goes, okay, well, look, if it doesn't come back in 1 year, you're cured. I said, remission? He goes, no, you're cured. That means we found the key to the lock of this cancer. And he thought because of that mutation he had, this guy's a rare cancer guy. He's like a genius. So he says, we're going to keep doing tests, but believe me, you will know before any of our tests if it comes back. You know all your symptoms. And after a year, it didn't come back. He says, you're cured, man. I'll see you and come back in 6 months. So I come back in 6 months. I do a PET CT. Perfect. See you in 6 months. And now he goes, let's do it every year. So now it's been 4 years. This last June, it was so perfect. He goes, you even want to come back?
Oh, that's wonderful, Mike.
I said, I want to come back. He says, well, come back in a year just so we, take the test and we'll talk. We can visit. So, and he did say to me, I said, well, what if it comes back? He says, well, a drug company sent you. He wrote it up in New England Journal of Medicine, my case. A drug company came in and made a drug specifically for what I have. And they realized it wasn't even a sarcoma. They realized it's actually part of leukemia, blood cancer. So he wouldn't even treat it, Now it's over with some other guys. So I asked him, last year, well, since that drug's come and everything, what percentage of people can you help that have what I had? He goes, oh, I cure 100% now.
Oh,
We just give them this medicine. Oh, isn't that amazing? Oh. So
great.
yeah, my music, just doing that. And I said, well, you're a genius. He goes, no, man, you did it with me. He said, most patients, he said, it was jazz what we did. He said, I didn't know what I was doing. And most patients wouldn't have done what you did. I go, what do you mean? I didn't have a choice. He goes, yeah, you had a choice. You could have just not done it. I said, no way, man. So I love that guy for the rest of my life. We were all close, our family.
Yeah. And, I think that is jazz. You take a chance. The idea of taking the chance.
Oh, nothing to lose, man. I have permanent chronic side effects from the treatment. Oh, and that's a certain thing they're starting to study now with cancer patients. So many are living. There's so many treatments now that are saving people, but you get these chronic things. So, I deal with them. They don't really keep me from doing anything. I can exercise, I can play, I can travel, I can do all this stuff, but I have to deal with it. I have to take blood thinner shots twice a day in my stomach and, do all kind of shit.
But you kick the main drugs. I remember there's a part of the book where you talk about, being rather addicted to the Percocet.
Yeah, I'm off of everything. Yeah. Percocet I got off in the week. The hardest one to get off was prednisone.
I'm still on 10 milligrams a day of prednisone.
That's not bad, 10 milligrams.
Yeah,
I was on 40.
They had me up to 50, and I'm down. It took a few weeks to wean me off of it down to 10. But yeah, it's wonderful that you've been able to do that. And now you're touring again. You just finished some gigs with our friend Mike Clark.
Yeah, I got more stuff coming up on this month, October 27th and 28th. I'll be at Mesro with Ben Allison and great drummer Daryl Green. And then on the 14th of November, I'll be at Zinc Bar with Mike Clark and Ben Allison. So, yeah.
What's that called? The Wolff Clark Expedition? What is the name of that?
Yeah, we're just calling it Wolff and Clark. But yeah, Wolff and Clark Expedition. We did some nice touring over the summer. We played in San Francisco. There's a new jazz club called Keys Jazz Bistro, and it used to be El Matador. It was a club I used to play with Cal Tjader. You probably played there. And it was on Broadway, and North Beach in San Francisco. So Mike Clark and I, right when I got sick, he and I had made our second album, and we were really getting a lot of traction for Wolff and Clark Expedition. We had SF Jazz, we had all these gigs, and I tried to make them. I just couldn't make them. I'm saying, Mike, I'm sorry, man. I can't. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so sick. So, it goes the way it goes, man.
Yeah, well, now you're traveling and playing, and
I mean, I don't like to travel like I used to, man. Kenny Rankin's a singer I used to work with. He says, "Hey, I play for free. I get paid to travel." So I don't like to travel that much anymore. I mean, I'll do it, but not. A friend of mine called me and says, "Hey, man, I can put a really good guitar player. I could put a tour together for us in the summer, and we could go around in a van for a month on the West Coast." I go, "Not for me, man. Thank you."
well,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel, fortunately, I did a lot of traveling. Like George Mraz said something similar to Kenny Rankin. Say, my profession is traveling. My hobby is playing the bass.
There you go.
And I would tell people that too. I would say, listen, I've never charged to play music. The music is free. The traveling you got to pay me for, and that's kind of how that goes.
Well, you know what? I don't know about you, but at this age, and I think from all I've been through, and I still take a little Celexa, 10 milligrams. They don't want me to come off it, I take a bunch of other stuff, obviously, but
I do too.
gabapentin, and it's for I got bad neuropathy from the chemo, the first chemo. So that means really bad tingling and pain in your hands and feet. But
gabapentin is one of the things that I take. My wife knows everything, all the names of everything.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
So it solved that, but God, I kind of lost my train of thought. But anyway, the point.
Traveling.
Yeah, the
traveling and
medicines
and that.
Yeah, traveling is, it's cool, but I just like to play music, and I like the last week, you won't believe it, I discovered 3 chords. I don't know how it happened. One by accident, and 2 by accident. I was just messing around with them, and I just, what is that chord? I didn't even know what it was. I just knew it sounded great, and one dominant chord with a major 7th on top. And it sounds great. So I don't know, I'm kind of figuring out now how they work. But to me, that's what thrills me, music thrills me.
Yeah, I do. And I love traveling. As a matter of fact, I made a lot of friends, as we talked about last time, the thing Mike Gresham told me, how I would meet people and learn languages. And all of that was such a wonderful thing, and a wonderful thing to experience. But I've done just enough of all of that. I miss the fact that I can't travel because of because of my breathing, being in an airplane, risk that, So I live with that, and that's okay.
Well, I was going to say, this is what I was going to say. I feel differently than I do about music now than I did. I mean, I realized my kids and my wife and my people that I love, my friends, even you, Bob Mover, the people that matter to me, even you, Jesse, people that matter to me are what counts. And the music is awesome. But I really feel that changed. And I feel all the dead people in my life, my parents or Cannonball or whoever, they're there with me. I feel that. And when I go to play music, I used to be so excited to play. And now I feel it differently. I feel it's like on another level. It doesn't feel the same way. Not that I don't enjoy it, but it feels more like, I just have to say what I have to say on the music rather than being excited about it. It's just a different feeling. Maybe it's age,
Yeah, I think it becomes a part of you, and you're just kind of, just like you talk to somebody, you're just like you.
Yeah.
It's your feelings, and that's what it is. It's just how you feel about everything.
Yeah.
That you can't express in words. That's why we play music, to express these non-expressible, non-verbal feelings that we have that go deeper than words, I think, in its way.
You're right.
But on that note, I think we've said a lot of words today.
Right.
So we've done that, and I think we've covered a lot about your life. And, oh, by the way, I'm just curious, what happened to the Salinger movie?
Oh, it's great. It's online somewhere. Yeah, Coming Through the Rye. It's a really good movie.
All right, I'm going to check it out.
I don't know where it is. I can just tell you. I mean, I always just say, where is it? But Coming Through the Rye. It's on one of the. If you go to
Prime or Netflix or one of those.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. It's a really good movie. The Rye. God damn it. My fucking typing on this thing sucked with the thumbs. I'll tell you that. Okay, Rye film. Okay, let's see what it says. It's on Prime Video, baby.
Oh, good. Okay.
Coming through the Rye. Now, Alex's movie, The Cat and the Moon, that he wrote, directed, and starred in. My son, that's on Amazon too, I think. The Cat and the Moon. It is a really good movie. It's about private high school students in New York City, which is something he knew about. It's wild. It's a really good movie. He wrote it, directed, and starred in it.
And
all right, The Cat and the Moon seems to be on Hulu. Yeah. Or Apple TV, Peacock. Yeah. Well, we should do a podcast. That would be fun. Interview some other people. Let's interview some other sick people.
Yes, I think we should. Hey, Fred Hirsch. We didn't the Fred story.
One of my close friends, Fred.
Yeah, Fred was in one of my early bands too. Actually, when he was first in New York, I had a beautiful day with him. He used to have those two Steinways at his apartment. He had those two Steinways.
Oh yeah.
And we used to use his apartment to rehearse my groups in. And one day Albert Daly stayed over later, and I played a beautiful, one of my favorite days of music was played with the two pianists, with Fred and Albert Daly and me.
Wow, that must have been awesome.
And it was so much fun, man. You know, like two genius piano players just kicking me to places I'd never been before.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it was fun. Anyway, let's talk about that. We'll talk about that. We may be having the germ of a new.
There's a song that I wrote called "Tough Ashkenazi," because when I first came back from being really sick, I played at Mesro with Ben Allison, and I was really weak, but I was strong in the first set. And Fred came to support me, and I said, "How was it, Fred?" He goes, "You were really strong, man." I go, and I know everything he's been through. I go, how do we do it, Fred? How do we do it? He goes, "We're some tough Ashkenazis." So I said, "Yeah, we're some tough Ashkenazi motherfuckers is what we are." So TAM is what we always call each other. Hey, Tam,
Hey, Tam. Well, I'm almost in that league.
Yeah.
We have to say, if you don't know what happened to Fred, Fred was in a coma and composed music, actually, when he came out.
My Coma Dreams, yeah.
My Coma Dreams, and that became a book. And also,
he wrote a great memoir too, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he wrote a really nice memoir. Yeah, Fred is a great artist. I just took my son Nat. We went to hear him in the Vanguard a month or so ago. It was inspiring.
Yeah, I remember when he got to town from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Well, that was where he was from.
Well, when he heard me first, he said he was I was at Paul's Mall with Sonny Rollins, and he was studying at New England Conservatory. And he said, I'd see you there, then I'd see you with Cannonball. And I thought, how does that guy keep getting those gigs, I don't really know how I did. Well, different days,
You're a very gifted guy, and you were in the right place at the right times, too,
The right group of people, yeah.
That's, I think, what happens with how it happens, how you happen to, so-and-so that knows so-and-so.
Oh, it was always that, man.
Yeah, So, anyway, on that note,
let's call it, man. Bob's, what a pleasure. Jesse, thanks for everything.
Once again, all on that note.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. On that note.
On Amazon.
Memoir of Jazz, Tics, and Survival. Michael Wolff, Wolff.
That's right. And I want to thank you, Mike. And I want to thank everybody that tuned into this. And you can comment on it. Send us, if you appreciated it, send us that. Or in the social media sense, give us a like. I guess that's what you do in this context. I want to thank Jesse Kaiser, without whose knowledge and work and putting everything together for us, this couldn't even be an idea.
I love doing this.
Oh yeah, and let's say a prayer for everyone that's being affected by this terrible Middle East situation.
We didn't even go into that. Yeah.
Well, we won't go into that, but we were sorry for all the suffering in the world, and If everybody listened to jazz, we might have less of that.
Right.
You know.
This
Anyway,
would suffer less. Yeah.
yeah, I might be less suffering, you know. But anyway, this is how it is.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm glad we got to do these 2 sessions. It's fun to talk to you.
Fun to talk to you, Mike, too. And we'll get together anyway, like this week or next, just to hang out and do some music.
Definitely, I'm around.
So that'll be fun. Thank you again. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, everybody. And for the On the Real Side, this is Bob Mover.